12-year-old Mary Kellerman wakes up on the morning of September 29, 1982, with a sore throat and a runny nose. Her parents tell her to stay home from school. In the bathroom of their house in Elk Grove Village, Illinois, she swallows a single Extra Strength Tylenol capsule. By 7 a.m., she is on the bathroom floor. By the time paramedics reach Alexian Brothers Medical Center, she is gone. The official cause of death will not be understood for almost 2 more days. By then, 6 more people will be dead, scattered across the suburbs of Chicago, and the country will be living through something it has never seen before. The question is, who put the poison in the bottles, and why no one has ever been charged with their murders? In the fall of 1982, Tylenol is the most trusted painkiller in America. It outsells the next 4 brands combined. It sits in nearly every medicine cabinet in the country, recommended by pediatricians, kept by the bedside, packed into purses and lunch bags. Johnson & Johnson holds roughly 35% of the over-the-counter analgesic market, and Extra Strength Tylenol is the crown jewel. The victims are not connected. They live in different suburbs. They shop at different stores. They are, in every way that matters, ordinary. Mary Kellerman is in 7th grade. She likes to draw. Adam Janus is 27, a postal worker in Arlington Heights, married, with 2 small children at home. Mary McFarland is 31, a single mother of 2, working at the Illinois Bell Phone Center in Lombard. Paula Prince is a 35-year-old flight attendant for United Airlines, just back from a trip, picking up a few things at a Walgreens on North Wells Street in Chicago. Mary Reiner is 27 and has just given birth to her 4th child a week earlier. Stanley Janus is Adam's younger brother, 25, newly married. His wife, Teresa, is 19. These are the 7 names. By the end of the first week of October, every one of them will be dead from the same bottle of pills, sold under the same trusted label in the same large American city. None of them know each other. None of them ever will. After Mary Kellerman dies, Adam Janus comes home from work that same morning complaining of minor chest pain. He takes Extra Strength Tylenol from a bottle in his kitchen. Within an hour, he collapses. He is pronounced dead at Northwest Community Hospital just after 3 p.m. The family gathers at his house that evening to grieve. His brother Stanley has a headache from crying. His sister-in-law Teresa has one too. They go to the same kitchen. They reach for the same bottle. Stanley collapses first, then Teresa. Paramedics return to the same address they had been at hours earlier. Stanley dies that night. Teresa dies 2 days later. A nurse at Northwest Community Hospital, Helen Jensen, is the first person to physically pick up the bottle and count the capsules. An off-duty firefighter named Philip Capitelli is listening to police radio chatter at home. He hears about the deaths in 2 different suburbs. He calls his mother-in-law. She mentions Mary Kellerman. He calls a colleague. The colleague mentions the Januses. Both households had Tylenol on the counter. It is this detail, passed along by 2 suburban first responders comparing notes after their shifts, that breaks the case open. By the morning of September 30th, the Cook County Medical Examiner has confirmed it. The capsules contain potassium cyanide, not a trace, a lethal dose. Some capsules hold up to 65 milligrams. A fatal dose for an adult is roughly 200 milligrams. Each victim swallowed enough to kill 3 or 4 people. The bottles come from different lots, manufactured at different Johnson & Johnson plants in Pennsylvania and Texas. The only place the bottles intersect is Chicago, specifically the shelves of grocery stores and pharmacies on the north and northwest sides. This is the first turn the investigators do not see coming. The poison is not introduced at the factory. Someone has been buying bottles, taking them home, opening the capsules, replacing the white powder inside with cyanide, resealing them, and quietly returning the tampered bottles to store shelves around metropolitan Chicago. The contamination is local. The killer is local. The killer has been walking into Jewel Osco and Walgreens and Frank's Finer Foods, holding bottles in gloved hands, slipping them back among the unsold inventory, and walking out. By October 1st, Johnson & Johnson does something no major American corporation has ever done at this scale. They pull every bottle of Tylenol off every shelf in the country. 31 million bottles, a loss of more than $100 million. Police cars in Chicago drive through neighborhoods using loudspeakers, telling residents not to swallow anything in their medicine cabinet. Halloween is effectively canceled in much of the Midwest. Hospitals fill with people who took Tylenol that morning and now cannot stop thinking about it. And then, on October 1st, comes the surveillance image. A camera at the Walgreens on North Wells Street captures Paula Prince at the register. Behind her, in the frame, is a bearded man. He is staring at her. The photograph will be reproduced in every newspaper in the country. He has never been identified. Within days, a letter arrives at Johnson & Johnson's headquarters in New Brunswick, New Jersey. It demands $1 million to stop the killing. The FBI traces the letter to a man named James William Lewis, a tax accountant with a long history of run-ins with the law. Lewis is arrested in New York in December 1982. He is convicted of extortion and sentenced to 10 years in federal prison. But Lewis is never charged with the murders. He insists he had nothing to do with the poisonings. He claims he wrote the letter only to embarrass his wife's former employer. Investigators cannot place him in Chicago during the window the bottles were tampered with. His fingerprints do not match any prints recovered from the bottles. Several of his alibis hold. He dies in 23, never indicted for the deaths. The FBI quietly closes its active investigation a few months later. The official theory, the one most investigators land on, is that James Lewis did it. They point to his erratic behavior, the detail in the extortion letter, the diagrams he later drew for FBI agents showing exactly how the tampering could have been carried out. They point to circumstantial threads that never quite tie into a knot. What undermines this theory is everything that would normally close a case. No physical evidence, no witnesses, no purchase records, no travel records placing him at the stores. A second theory points to a former Johnson & Johnson employee, a disgruntled worker with access and motive. Internal investigators were said to have looked closely at this angle in the early weeks. Nothing public ever came of it. A third theory, raised by retired investigators in later interviews, is that the killer was an unrelated Chicago area resident with a grievance against a single specific victim. The other 6 deaths, in this theory, are camouflage. Kill one person with poisoned pills, scatter more poisoned bottles around the city, and the murder you actually wanted disappears into a panic. Supporters of this theory note how unusual it is for a mass poisoner to act once and then go silent forever. Detractors note that no victim's circle of acquaintances ever produced a credible suspect. A fourth theory, raised more recently, connects the Tylenol case to a separate unsolved poisoning in the New York area years later, suggesting a single offender with a longer timeline. The connection is geographic and methodological, not forensic. Nothing has ever been confirmed. What is not in dispute is the legacy. Within a year, Congress passes the Federal Anti-Tampering Act. Tamper-evident foil seals shrink wrap around the cap, the glued box flap that has to tear when you open it for the first time. All of it traces back to 7 bottles in Chicago in the autumn of 1982. Every time you peel back a safety seal, you are touching the residue of this case. What has never been resolved is the simplest part. Someone walked into stores in the Chicago area in September of 1982 with bottles full of cyanide and put them back on the shelves. That person watched the news. That person saw the photographs of Mary Kellerman, of Paula Prince, of the Janus family. That person, in all likelihood, is either still alive or died without ever being named. 40 years of FBI files, 2 grand juries, a confessed extortionist who took the secret to his grave, and the bearded man in the Walgreens photograph standing behind a flight attendant who has 6 hours to live. None of it has produced a name on an indictment. If you have a theory about what really happened, drop it in the comments. I read every one.